Civil War. The thing that seems like a great idea at the time until you realize you're basically destroying your own kingdom and nobody ends up a winner. In this video, we're going to talk about exactly what to do in case of a civil war, and yeah, it's time to break the glass. What is going on, Governor Chisgule here? Today, we've got a ton to advise and guide around how to compose yourself and what to do in a civil war. If you like Rise of Kingdoms guides that help you get value and smash your enemies, consider smashing that subscribe button for daily Rise of Kingdoms videos. We're a sponsored content creator, and we've got a lot to say about Civil War because, as you can see, it's that time again in the kingdom that our restart project is in, where our alliance seems to regularly get kicked out of Zone 3. I think we'll be migrating. I'm not sure what's going on. It's taken a lot longer than I'd like, but hopefully we end up somewhere good. And hopefully there's no conflict, no warring, no more fighting. It's already happened twice in this kingdom. I can say from experience that usually a civil war doesn't lead to a better outcome at the other end of the road. So with that said, here are some very tactical things that you can do in case of civil war. And I'm going to start with the harsh reality that your number one go-to option for a long-term solution is likely going to be migrating to a new kingdom. Yes, that will take passports and a non-trivial amount. At 40 million power, it's going to cost me a lot of passports to go to where I'm going. I think like 12 or so. I'll try and find a diagram to put up on the screen so you can see exactly how many passports it will be. Now, I know from experience with my own account, right over here, my restart project, where I went in, and it's, already actually 270 days old. It's almost a year old. This is insane. It's almost a year old, and it's hard to find a good place to migrate to. So I've got a couple options for you that hopefully will help you out. There's a link in the description to the Discord for my YouTube channel. You can go there, and there's a channel dedicated to migration groups. So if you want to find a place to migrate, people are advertising all the time in that channel. You could go somewhere nice and find somewhere good. One other option that we've created for you in Kingdom 75, because let me tell you, this has been kind of stressful for me, so I can only imagine how outrageous it would be and stressful it would be if you didn't know what options were available to you. So in Kingdom 75, we are dedicating space in Zone 3 for folks to join our kingdom as refugees. No obligation to stay. You can leave anytime you want, get your bearings, just immediately depart a dangerous situation to avoid having to deploy all the tricks we're about to share with you. And then you can migrate to somewhere else when you're ready if you want, or stay. To be very transparent, I'm inclined to believe that if you come to our kingdom, you'll find the organization so impressive that you won't want to leave, but no pressure either way. So that option's available to you. I have a card up in the top all about migration to Kingdom 75, and also a link to our migration Discord for Kingdom 75 specifically, if you're interested in joining and want to start talking with officers from our kingdom right away. The Alliance shells that are dedicated to that activity for people that are looking to migrate are PO and OA. So if you want to just go somewhere, know there's an alliance, it's in Zone 3, and you can get your bearings, that's what you can do. With all that said, if you've got the stones to stick around and fight it out in a civil war, or perhaps you're just a little bit crazy and you're going to fight in a civil war, here are some things you can do to protect your troops and your valuable investment into your own account, whether it's monetary or time or both. First and foremost, use a peace shield before you go to bed. You don't know what's going to happen. If there's at all a chance that a civil war is even on its way, pop a peace shield at least 8 hours before you go to bed, and you're going to have to set an alarm to get back up to make sure you don't miss this. I personally prefer a 24-hour or 3-day peace shield, depending on whether or not you actually expect you'll be fighting. They are adding 12-hour peace shields into the game. I don't know if I've seen those yet, but as soon as those arrive, you're going to want to pick up perhaps some of those, because those will certainly give you good coverage for a night of rest. And there they are, 700 gems, definitely worth protecting your account. Yes, really. Now, one approach you could take if you don't want to spend the gems over here on a peace shield or set alarms and use 8-hour peace shields is that you can actually take all your troops and dump them into a flag. Now, as long as that flag is not being touched by enemy flags, then guess what? Nobody can attack the flag. And if you pick a flag where it's unlikely that anyone is going to be like anywhere near, you're good to go. Alternatively, you could go for a holy site. And if you reinforce a holy site that no one is likely to hit, you can send a whole bunch of troops into there. You might have to use an expansion to overnight them there if you have a lot of troops. And you can send as many marches as you want, reinforce the structure a bunch of times. And look, they will take any resources you have in your city if it gets hit. And if you still have troops in your city, they'll go to the hospital. And as long as your hospital capacity is not exceeded, hey, it doesn't matter how many times they hit your city. Your wall's going to burn. You might get random teleported as a result of it, but your troops aren't going to die. And that is what matters the most. Now, if you are going to stick it out and ultimately try to hang in a long-term fight, there's a couple things you need to do for your sanity. And the first of those things is to establish a safe zone. So as an example, and that's not what's happening here, but I'll use the map here to illustrate. If we wanted this zone to be a safe zone, we would need to try to either control the passes as the entry points that the enemy might try to take and have some sort of buffer around those passes so that the opposing side couldn't take them and then enter into the zone. And the key here, and I do want to stress this, is that you optimally pick a zone 2 where someone can't go in, create a new account, start building forts. You want to have a zone where you have complete control over the entirety of the zone, including all of the shells. And that might be a tough one to have access to all of the alliance shells in that zone, because all it takes is for one of the alliances in a zone to either flip to open invite, not pay attention and accept someone from the opposing side, and then the opposing side teleports in, and you have all kinds of problems. The enemy could even potentially use that technique to get into your zone and then build over the mountains if that's what they wanted to do and flag into your zone that way. And from there, they can start using territorial teleports. So securing a zone, optimally zone 2, but you could do a zone 1, so that you have a safe place to sleep and send your troops out at night, is really solid. I will caution you, however, it really doesn't take that much for an enemy to build up to your pass, take the pass when you don't expect it, and start invading the zone. For that reason, you really want at least a 3 to 5 flag buffer, and then you have a lot of time to react to what's happening, and so you can respond. Now, assuming that that's a thing that you even do, you block off a zone, or maybe you don't, one thing you can do is try to constrain the places where people can teleport by having a nice fat chunk of unbroken alliance territory. Now, I don't know if I can find a great example of that over here, although it does look like this alliance in green has the idea sort of put together pretty well, even though they may not be intending to do that, which is that there aren't that many places you could teleport here, and one strategy you can use if you're out of flags is to teleport player cities into some of those gaps from your alliance. That way, enemy alliances can't teleport into the gaps. By blocking the enemy's ability to teleport into critical places that would allow them to either swarm, rally, or otherwise be disruptive to the cities in your alliance, you prevent the enemy from being able to make an effective strike onto your team. Now, the next thing you can do if you've got that nice, unbroken chunk of alliance territory is to teleport all your cities from your alliance into the center of that. Now, again, we're not really doing that formation here, but you would make a nice big chunk of all these cities tightly packed together on alliance territory. There's a lot of advantages to doing that. This is called a hive defense. The hive defense is powerful because you can have players walk between cities instead of in the open field, so they're very well shielded from an enemy trying to attack them. It's easy to reinforce each other and protect each other. You are on your alliance territory, which is really good. But if you make that chunk of cities right in the center of your territory, and then you've got all this protected space where the enemy can't teleport, you're in a really good situation to protect yourself and your people from getting into trouble. And I want to caution you that a high power player can still rally you, but if you have people online to fight, at least they can try to counter what that player is doing. They can either swarm down the rally or otherwise force that player to march through a ton of your alliance's territory, and it at least gives you an opportunity to contest them. Now, one thing I think is fairly obvious that everybody needs to go and do on an ongoing basis is if you're at a state of war, especially, or war is coming into your kingdom, make sure that you've got your garrison set up. Look, you really don't want to take a hit to your city if you're below 40 million power, but if that's going to happen, or if you're offline for when that ultimately does happen, you want to deliver as much punish as possible. Make sure you've got some great garrison commanders, a really solid build, really good equipment. Card up in the top if you want to learn all about how to optimize your city's defense for exactly this style of situation. Now, assuming you're following all of those other techniques and all of that guidance, let's say you want to go on the offensive, but you're not particularly high power. One thing you can do is you can either use random teleports or use a targeted teleport to put yourself right near where the enemy will be gathering. You then send 1 or 2 marches, optimally that have the mobility talent tree, to navigate through resource nodes and to kill all of their troops that are gathering. As it turns out, really denying your enemy of resources goes a long way toward winning a war. I would recommend that you do that, but you do really need to be careful because look, even at 30 million power, a 55 plus million power player can roll up to your city, and if you're not ready for it and you don't have a good defense, they can swarm you down, and they'll take losses too. Just make sure you don't go too far away from your city, or if you're going to do this tactic, another thing you can do is from the safety of your hive and your safe zone, send your march into the enemy's zone and attack that way. So if we were, let's say, attacking into zone 1, if this zone was totally safe for us, we could march out over here and from the safety of our zone be attacking the enemy into here. It's a long walk. You got to pay attention for a long time to make that happen, but it's much, much safer than having your city swarmed or rallied and then get zeroed. And I've seen it happen. Now, one other technique you could do to get this done, and it's going to use resource tokens in order to do this, is you can put 4 of your marches into a holy site, into a flag of your alliance that is safe. So I could put all my marches into like this flag, okay? And then you could teleport into the enemy's zone because you can still teleport when your marches are actually in a flag, just not when they're in the field. So at that point, you don't actually care if your city gets hit because you've moved all your troops out of your city with the exception of the 1 cavalry march you're going to use to run around the field wrecking people. And man, I mean, you're not going to make any friends doing this technique, let me tell you. But if you've emptied all the troops out of your city and you're teleporting around, look, they can take your resources, but if you've spent them down or sent them to your farm, which is bubbled and safe, you can go around, you can kill their gatherers. If they hit your city, you don't care. You heal up your troops, you'll have to use some speed ups probably, and the resources you'll have to use will need to be in token form. But you can basically endlessly run around wrecking people and their gatherers, and you don't care if your city gets hit. It's pretty awkward, for sure. Now, look, I don't like that technique, and at the end of the day, I think that any kingdom that has a civil war, especially one of serious consequence, is going to have a hard time ever recovering. And I worry that if they've done it once, they might just think it's okay to do that again. That certainly was the case in my restart project. And we have grown. And honestly, like, the kingdom's been overall pretty chill, right? Like, in this case, we've been asked to leave because they want to bring a different alliance in. And so they evicted us from Zone 3. I don't have a ton of time to really play this account. I spend a lot of time on my main. So we're going somewhere. I don't know where, and it's hard to find somewhere to go. Gosh darn it. So if you're looking for somewhere urgently, you need to go somewhere, you don't have peace shields, you don't want to worry about it, consider joining Kingdom 75. Again, the link is in the description to both the Kingdom 75 Discord and also the Discord for my YouTube channel, where you can go in and find, among many different kingdoms, the ones that are advertising. Maybe you can find a fit there. For players that are under 35 million power, no questions asked. You can come on into the kingdom. You can go to PO or OA, and immediately, without even having to talk to an officer, you can chill out and be safe. And if you wanted to integrate into the kingdom in one of the other alliances within the kingdom, of course, you can start talking to the officers and make that happen using the Discord linked in this video. Hopefully you found this video helpful, and if you're in a civil war, gosh bless, I hope you make it out on the other side of things okay and still with enough of your troops, resources, and goodies still intact. I know that, honestly, making my way up to 40 million power, I've not had a lot of resources to spare for fighting at all. And that's in part because I honestly don't farm on this account as much as I should. I really don't farm on this account as much as I should. Like, I've got 4 billion, and there are players with double the amount of resources I have, and I'm good at gathering resources. I've just been lazy about it on this account. So, you know, fighting is very, very costly and will ultimately hinder your progress up to a point. I'm sort of crossing that threshold now with this account where, like, you know what, the resources don't matter as much. I could fight with them if I wanted to, and it really wouldn't harm the rate of growth of this particular account. But that's enough about this topic for now. If you enjoyed this video, consider throwing a like on the video, and leave a comment down below if you have any other tactics you would recommend to players in the case of a civil war and how they should compose themselves and what they should do. Unlike in Kingdom versus Kingdom, where you're safe on your own alliance territory, a kingdom war is a very, very terrifying thing because you can get rallied anytime. And if you want to see when I've been in civil wars with my main account, this was before KVK was even announced. I'll have a card up at the top for some videos where, like, gosh, these are old. These are old. I mean, we've got some of the first reports, not ever in Rise of Kingdoms, but like one of the first videos I'd ever seen was when we created the one around like millions of troops going to die in a pass fight. It was insane. And ultimately we made friends with everybody afterwards. And like, dude, if there are any original Marvel folks around still looking for a place, definitely stop by Kingdom 75. And I know I'm still close with a lot of folks still in 51. Really awesome people there. So anyways, I'm going to head out. Until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom, and gosh darn it, stay safe with all these civil wars, people.